Okay, sorry about that. So now what we're gonna take a look at again, we saved this off to the desktop. Remember, you're gonna do a file export save for web version. You wanna send me a JPEG of this. So again, make sure you're setting it as JPEG. Quality sizes shouldn't really make a difference. I'm just gonna hit save. And again, I'll go on to my desktop, just call it last name, L3, it's a JPEG. So now I got that, I'm good to go. I can close all this stuff. I am done with this. So what you'll be emailing me when you're finished with your lesson is that JPEG version of what you just created. So you can send me that. All this other stuff I don't need anymore. But if you guys want to keep any of that, I would highly recommend just keeping backups of all that stuff just in case. So now that we have that part taken care of, what I want to take a look at is the extension project for this week. So if I jump back into weekly assignments and then lesson 3, here's some kind of pieces for that, some backup stuff. Obviously, I'll post the videos of the demo that I just did. Here's the start files, and again, a review saving for web. What you're going to do this week, though, is you're going to create for your extension project, you're going to create some logos just based on kind of some simple shapes. So for this, what I'm looking for is just as an idea, like just kind of playing around with those shapes and build stuff that might have something to do with like a shipping company. So planes, trains, cars, any sort of transit stuff, anything that's related to boxes, anything that kind of suggests movement. Again, expecting this to be like a finished FedEx logo. What I'm looking for is you guys to just kind of get a chance to play around with those shape tools and kind of create something that would be a little bit more original, or just something that gives you a chance to play with these tools and just kind of experiment with applying color, stacking, that type of thing. So what you're going to do is for this week, you're going to build 3 basic kind of logos just with some of those shape tools. And then next week, we're going to learn on how to do a couple additional things with editing shapes, and you'll either be able to refine them or just create completely new ones. For this week, what I'd like to see is just anything starting with a standard shape: squares, circles, polygons. Customizing it using the direct selection tool. You can apply shading to it. So if you do like a lighter color, so here like how I applied like shading onto this box, or if you want to do like a darker color, or here like I did just kind of like light gray underneath it, kind of make it look like it was this floating box piece. And making sure you're applying a fill and a stroke to everything, and that you're paying attention to your stacking order. When you're done, what you're going to do is you're going to save these things. You can save this actually as a PDF when you're done, and then the PDF will keep all of your artboards together. So I'll actually show you that right now. It's kind of like a quick little demo. So let me pull open. I had a sample version that I wanted to pull open, just kind of some different stuff that I use and built with some of these shape tools. Now, here's like, you can see like ellipses and squares and the kind of custom shapes. Here I kind of played around with just kind of building some circles. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and build like a little plane thing. Now, for you, what you're going to do is you're going to make a new document. And on your new document, you're going to set this thing up at 3 inches by 3 inches. You'll create 3 artboards, and you don't need to add bleed to these. That's fine to not add bleed. So now 3 by 3, 3 artboards. I'll hit create. So now what you're going to do is you're going to build a little logo on each one of these artboards. So I'm going to zoom in on this one. So I think what I want to try and do is play around with that plane thing. So what I'm going to do with that is it looks like it's probably just kind of like really big ovals. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. I kind of set this thing up almost like a fuselage. And then I'm going to grab my polygon tool, and I'll click and drag. And I'm going to try and make a triangle out of this. And I'll hold my shift key to kind of lock in the proportions and make sure it's nice and even. Now, obviously, like this doesn't look so hot as far as size. So remember, I can adjust that. I can make it wider if I need to. I can grab my little radius option and kind of round off the edges. Now it's kind of starting to look like something. Probably still go a little bit bigger with it. So I'll hold my shift key for that. Set it back a little bit. I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna copy paste this thing, and I'm gonna use this for the tail. I'm gonna shrink it way down. Probably a little bit bigger with it. So that's kind of giving me like a basic starting point. So now what I want to do is I'm gonna grab everything. I want to make it all one kind of shade of gray. I'm going to turn off the stroke. Now it's kind of starting to look a little bit like something. Now I can kind of go in and start fine tuning this thing. So like maybe I want to put not quite so much radius on it. So all my shapes are kind of complementary. Let me zoom in a little bit more to see how that looks. And with this one, same thing. I'm going to kind of point this out a little bit more. think it's got kind of a nicer looking finish to it. So again, the idea is I'm trying to make this thing for like some sort of shipping company, and maybe shift this up a little bit. And then I want to kind of make like little windows for the pilots. So what I'll do is I'm going to zoom in here. And what I could do is kind of, I got a couple different options. I think what I might do is, let's do a rectangle tool. Let's make the color kind of like a dark gray. I'm going to slide this thing in here. And now what I can do is I can actually start kind of playing around with, like if I'm going to radius these corners a little bit, I can also adjust these shapes as well. So now I'm going to really zoom in on this. And I'm going to grab these individual points in here if I wanted to kind of push these in a little bit and pull these out a little, kind of adjust the overall shape of it, kind of make it a little bit more custom looking. Zoom out. Yeah, and I think that's kind of getting there. I could still play around with this, and I'm going to a little bit more. I'm not necessarily like going to land on the first thing that I like. I just want to kind of keep playing and adjusting and kind of working along as I go. And if the shape doesn't feel quite right, I can always kind of like maybe push it in a little bit. So that's kind of the idea with this, is that you're going to play with those basic shapes. And by combining polygons, ellipses, rectangles, all these different tools, that you can kind of start building kind of custom shapes like that. Now, once I'm done, I'll make sure I apply a stroke and a fill to everything. I'll select it all. I'll make it a group. So you're going to build 3 of these things. So there's just one kind of as an example. So you'll fill all 3 artboards. When you're done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and do a save as command. And I'm going to save this thing, instead of as Illustrator, notice if you click on this dropdown, there's this PDF option. I'm going to save this thing as a PDF. So I'm going to call this last name dash description. And if I save it as a PDF, the cool thing about PDFs is that they're super Illustrator friendly. I don't keep an AI version of this. I'm actually just going to use my Illustrator version. So now if I close it and I quit out of Illustrator, here's my file. If I double click it and I open it up in like preview, I only drew art on one of them, but take a look. It saves each one of those artboards as its own piece within a document. So if you have a document that's got multiple artboards, rather than saving out JPEGs, you can actually just save it as a PDF, and it'll condense all of them down into one big document. So what you'll do is when you create your 3 basic kind of logos like that you can save those, and you can send both of these to me at the same time. Remember, as you're emailing me, you can either send me straight through your Gmail, or you can come back into Blackboard and do this contact the instructor, fill out your subject, hit the little attachments down here, and then it'll generate an email and send it straight to me with your attachments on there. Any questions on that? Anything else jumping out at you guys? So as far as kind of getting caught up and getting work done, I've been basically trying to grade stuff as soon as I've been getting it in. I know, like, I stopped last night at probably about 4 or 5 o'clock. So if you did not get last week's lessons 1 and 2 in, I highly recommend you get that turned in. Getting behind is going to tend to be a big problem with classes, because then it kind of snowballs. These lessons are generally pretty simple to get through. And obviously you guys have like a great video reference to kind of walk through this. What I'm doing is I'm walking through the steps, but I'm not reading them line for line. I'm trying to give you guys context and background, that type of thing. So what I'll have ready for you guys is, once I'm done with the video, which is going to be wrapped up in just a minute, I'll post that here so that you guys can review it. And then as soon as I hear more about software, about tutoring, about everything else, I'll make sure to get that over to you. Also, if anyone is waiting on a laptop, it sounds like some of the MacBook Pros that they ordered from the college for like the Create students, that they should be ready in the library coming up over the next couple of days. As soon as I hear about that, I'll let you know. But if you are having any issues with software, with hardware, with internet access, any of that stuff, please reach out to me, let me know. Also keep in mind, like, thank you for being here. Keep in mind that attendance is important as part of this class, just making sure you're seeing the lessons, seeing the kind of the process, and understanding what it is you're doing. So if you guys got any questions, I'm going to hang out in the room for a little while as you guys work. Otherwise, if you want to just jump into Illustrator and try it yourself, go for it. Remember, all you're doing once you're done with the lesson and the extension project, send me a JPEG of the extension project, send me a PDF of your logos, and I'll see you guys here next week for lesson 4.